Jake's Kitchen, and yeah, plenty more. It's 2 days of yard sale, Black Friday style at Kendra's Aluminum Factory Compound, Camden Park. Friday and Saturday, November 29th and 30th. Sale starts at 8 a.m. Nobody comes close to Kendra's. Kendra's Aluminum Products, a tradition of excellence.
99.9 WEFM. WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
All right, so time here in SVG, it is 8:18, and our apologies with regards to the late start of this morning's program. Had a little bit of a technical issues, so we were trying to work that out behind the scene. Nonetheless, we have our interviewees here already in studio with us. All right, and as mentioned earlier this morning, we are going to be conducting an interview with Mr. Ricky Wright, the manager in the engineering department at Vinlec, and Mr. Lonzo Jones, Deputy Chief Electrical Inspector at the Electrical Inspectorate Division. And we are going to be talking on the topic of electricity usage and conservation methods and what you should know. All right, so in studio, you have host Dianna Cain and myself, Roleza Samuel. And good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, ladies.
Morning. All right, so we have given your names and your titles, but tell us a little bit more about yourselves. So let's start with Mr. Wright.
First thing, happy to be here this morning. Thank you for inviting Vinlec. I've been in and around the Vinlec for the last maybe 39 years.
Okay.
Different
39?
39 years.
Wow.
Serving in different capacities. I started as an electrician, a technician, held different engineering positions from operation engineer, dispatch engineer, planning engineer, dealing with projects and implementation of projects, generation planning engineer focused on generation projects, medium and long-term research and development projects, and transmission distribution. So therefore, for a while in the transmission distribution department, and now manager engineering, responsible for just overseeing all the engineering areas in Vinlec.
Okay. All right. Short career, very short career. All right. And to you, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I think this might be my 20th year with the civil service.
Okay.
I think I started in 2005. I started at the bottom of the barrel, obviously. So as a junior officer, well, because I came directly out of college on attachment, and I focused in my mind, I'm not leaving until I got this job.
Oh, wow. Very good then.
Lovely.
I think I spent I did my attachment, did a couple of months without being paid.
Okay.
And then I was brought on the daily paid side. And then a couple of years after, I was appointed. I've gone through. Well, there's not much in upward mobility in our department. You come from a junior officer, you go to a supervisor, go to a senior supervisor, then once you're deemed capable, either go to the deputy chief and then upward to the chief. So that was 20 years for me. I am an inspector for 20 years. I'm a certified solar inspectors, PV system inspectors. I'm an advanced installer. I'm heavy into renewable. Right now, I'm about to finish my master's in renewable. I don't have such as an illustrious career, Mr. Right. My entire career has been within the inspectorate, trying to make sure that our department grows. And because the last time I was telling Mr. Wright just now, about 2 or 3 years ago, we had our electrical safety month, and we came right here to an interview. And while in the interview, a woman called in. She's like, "I've never heard of that department before.
Okay.
Is this new?"
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, "No, no." So you see, what tends to happen sometimes is that persons would build their homes and their electrician would come and deal with the inspectorate directly. So the homeowner actually has no idea.
But isn't there a path coming down to the final stages where the homeowner has to sign off on something and come in?
There's
Right.
an application where they have to fill out. But what would tend to happen is that the electrician now would take up that job and say, "Okay, you know what? Fill out this, fill out that. I need this amount of money for the inspection
Sign
fee.
here.
Sign here," and they go and do it. They facilitate the inspections with the inspector, and that's it. So some people have absolutely no idea that this authority exists, and our main sole purpose is to make sure that the populace is safe and to ensure that they follow the correct standards that they're supposed to, right? And it's a big task because, for example, our department is actually spoken in the laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's so in depth that we regulate everything. Well, we should regulate everything as it relates from VINLEC putting up power lines, as it relates from the simple man on the street during Carnival that is using a generator.
Interesting.
Yes.
It's interesting.
It's very diverse.
I'm about to learn a couple things today.
It's very diverse, but our department is small. We know nothing compared to the giant that VINLEC is. Right, our department is about 17, 18 persons strong. That is coming down from the chief directly straight down to the driver. Right, so we have a very, very, very small department, but all of our inspectors are certified with either inspections, solar, so many. We even have certified forensic fire inspectors now.
Okay.
That is a part of the department, which the chief is. Right. So we're very as we carry the Vincentian tongue. We're small, but we tell up.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So I mean, I don't know how much more I can speak, but my career is not as illustrious as Mr. Wright.
But you've done very well for yourself over here. So let's give the hats off to you and your flowers one time, all right? All right, so let's start with VINLEC first, right? Love it or hate it, we have VINLEC with us. All right, so I want for you to first off, right? Everything. Let's start off first off. Explain fuel surcharge to us. What is that about? Explain what that is about to us, right? And then we're going to have other things coming out from that entire conversation, just for the general public to understand what that's about.
Fuel surcharge. I thought this was about conservation.
Well, yeah,
touch it up. It's an attempt to be transparent. Let me start that way, so that there's nothing in the bill, in the electricity bill, that isn't accounted for. That we don't slip anything. It doesn't slip anything in the bill. It's an attempt, and it's shrined in the laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, how we should calculate the electricity that you pay for. And so when this was set in law, the fuel prices then, and that's about 34 years or 35 years ago, the fuel prices were set in the base rate, and it was said, should the price of fuel rise, then we'll ask the customer to pay for that fuel. We're not going to put anything on, we're not going to take anything off. We're just going, so it will be a transparent process. And over the last 35 years, we know that everything, cost of everything went up, especially fuel and wars and contributing to this. So so that money, is that just that money you pay for the fuel used to produce the bit of electricity that all of us use.
Okay. All right. So in relation to conservation, right? So coming from Vinlec's standpoint, so we have hydroelectricity here, right? We also have an abundance of sun. In terms of the hydroelectricity, during periods of heavy rainfall, does this help to decrease our electricity usage? Does it contribute in any way? Or how come we don't see, let's say, a lesser charge on our bills whenever there are periods of heavy rains and, rivers have that turbulent flow of water, etc.?
It impacts it. It impacts it, but it is small, spread across all of the energy, the production, the energy that we produce. It is calculated in the bill or subtracted from the bill. But for that energy that isn't produced from or is produced from renewable energy sources, PV or water or hydro, you won't have to pay any fuel for that because it's produced from solar and hydro. You don't see it because it's just so small that the impact is little.
Okay, and in terms of future ways for us to save money, right? Because we have a lot of sun here in SVG. What are Vinlec's current and future plans with regards to, let's say, using solar generated energy to help with the reduction of our bills, given that the technology has been advancing significantly over the years? And becoming cheaper over the years too. I must start back to maybe almost 70 years now. We have been using renewable energy source of for electricity, to produce electricity. This is with our hydro plants in Richmond and South Rivers. Maybe about 25 years ago, 30 years ago, that hydro was about, by that time we had Cumberland also, and hydro contribution was about 25% of the overall production. Now, as the demand goes up, then that has a lower contribution. Last month, for instance, it's hydro. Hydro was about 13% of the production mix, with solar being 3% contributing energy. Over the years, we have expanded to Cumberland Hydro. We have always kept our eyes on the industry and monitor to see when it's economical to introduce different renewable energy sources in our mix. For over 30 years, we have done wind studies in Mairo, Canawan. We have monitored the river flows and precipitation rainfall across St. Vincent. We have started. We have done in-house many projects, many PV projects, photovoltaic projects. Started with a small, and most of them were done in-house. Starting with a small 10 kilowatt PV plant. And as the prices got more, as it got more economical, we increased the size. I remember years after, maybe 10 or so years after we have done an in-house project. Bigger Caribbean islands, utilities from bigger Caribbean islands, they actually came and learned from what we were doing,
they actually use us for the example for them to get permission to do some of the projects. They weren't allowed to do it, and they said, okay, look at Tim Vincent, Binlec is doing this and that, and they're allowed to do that. So we took some small steps. Always have our eyes on what's happening in the industry, and we have for maybe about 15 years now have allowed Vincentians to our customers to use PV or micro generation generators on their RE micro generators at their homes and businesses. It took us a number of years before for customers actually took up the opportunity. I remember especially in Beckway, where I kept on telling customers, okay, you can do that. And it was, okay, what is Binlec up to now? We don't trust them with the fuel surcharge. Boy. How are they going to get? Then I think it was the expat actually took up the offer. And within a short time, they reached the ceiling that we had allowed. Well, that ceiling we allowed because it was that's the limit to which it would have affected the quality of service without needing additional equipment, additional investments. Okay. So we have. So, let's say between Binlec and government, we have about 30 megawatts of solar installations, and private owned there's about not 30 megawatts, sorry, 3 megawatts, and privately owned there's about 3 megawatts from about 400 over 400 installation customers today. And for government and Binlec, we have 30 projects out there supplying.
Okay, so until we see maybe Binlec in a way, let's say using solar electricity or other means of electricity, energy generation avenues, the onus kind of falls more on us as the customers for us to help to find ways to reduce this electricity in terms of if we choose to use the solar panels rather than being connected to Binlec. Well, I think you still have to be connected to Binlec, right? Even if you use the solar panels to generate just electricity in a domestic sense. Do you still have to be connected to Binlec? How does that work?
What we promote is what's called a grid tight systems. In that if you're a domestic customer, you can install a PV system and use that amount. Use what you can when the sun is up, when it's producing. If you have extra, you feed it back onto the grid, and we would give you credits for that. For that energy that you feed back onto the grid. If you are a commercial or industrial customer, the guidelines are you sell all to Binlec. You sell all to Binlec. Yeah.
Okay, so
if I may say, it is more economical it's less. The upfront cost is less if you're grid connected. If you have a grid tied system, then you don't have to don't have to look at storage and another form of generating electricity when the sun isn't shining, so to say.
So if I might just jump in, what is Binlec's position on hybrid systems at present? You spoke that they preferred, if I could quote you correctly, is grid tied systems. But what is Binlec's position on hybrid systems at present?
We don't have the structure to really accommodate, and I take that to mean that you're asking about a customer who has his own PV system wants to use batteries or a generator, and but also attached to it like, as a backup. We there are two things. One, a safety issue, being monitoring and control of that system in relation to our system, and I guess that is where your organization would come in and ensure that everybody is safe. But there's also an issue of we have no structure to really accommodate such. Remember, I told you that our billing and charges, how we charge, is actually showing in the laws in the Electricity Act, and also there's another concern of because there's no real mechanism for that. What we operate on, then if we have to allow it, one, it will be legal, and two, the persons who can't afford such systems will actually have to subsidize the persons who can.
Okay, so for me as somebody, okay, so I am trying to find ways to conserve electricity. I am looking to bring in solar panels. Is it a case where I need to get permission from VinLink first? Walk me through that process, or walk me through that step. Before installation of the panels, etc. What it is that I need to do?
Yeah. So I see you pause and look at the
Yeah.
All right. So as I said before, our purpose is to ensure that.
So you have to come to first?
Oh yes.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Oh yes.
Anyhow, I'll continue.
Okay.
So as Mr. Wright duly indicated before, our purpose is to ensure that the populace is safe and they're using what the laws stipulate must be used. So our country operates under the British laws. Let me rephrase that. The electricity, the European standards, which is the European or British English. So we're a British English colony. So we have held on to those practices so far. And one of the things is that our base voltage is 240 volts as the law stipulated, but everybody knows that that's 230.
I thought it was 220. Okay.
The law stipulates is 240 volts.
Okay.
Right? Everybody carries it 220, 230, right? But that's what it says, right? So our purpose is to ensure that those are followed and to make sure that whatever systems are in place is safe for the use of the persons using it and for everyone around. Right. So before you even get to Mr. Wright, you have to come through us.
Okay.
Right. Which we have certified systems inspectors, certified inspectors who inspect solar. Right. So you come and make an application for a solar inspection. An inspector goes out. Well, you have to schedule first. An inspector comes to your home, confirm that the modules or solar panels are correct, confirm that the interconnection between your home, which is the main breaker or the panel, is correct, because as Mr. Wright duly said, right now, what is accepted, it's grid tied systems, meaning it's tied to VinLink, the distribution company, right? So you have to tie that into your home. That's the only way that it can go back into the grid.
Okay.
Right.
This is like a circular something happening. I try to get the mental picture of it. It's like a circular process, like a relay process.
It's linear to some extent.
Yeah. There's the network is one network in St. Vincent, and we have generators around St. Vincent, and they're all connected.
All connected.
Even your customers, they're all connected to that network.
Okay.
So consider a circle that's VinLink's grid, and you there, you there, me here, Mr. Right over there, right? So that grid is what we're connected to. And your panel outside of Vinlec's grid, but there's a linear line going on to their grid. So once you have solar on your property, right, whatever you use
Don't use.
or don't use goes back to that linear line going on to that grid.
Okay. Hope that's clear for everybody.
So once our inspectors come to your property, confirm everything safe, an electrician, a certified electrician who has solar experience and solar training should be installer, right? Not every electrician can install solar, right? Those are processes that has to come through our department as well to confirm that person is an active solar installer, is a certified solar installer, to confirm that they can do it, because we have a lot of DIYs around here, right? Even our certified electricians tend to be DIY because they don't have no accredited certification that you have gone through this process, so you know, and we're safe and you're accepted. They go on the internet. You know what? I can do electricity. I've been doing electrical for years. They go on the internet, look up solar installation, and pull that down, and you know how to install it.
YouTube, University of YouTube.
Yeah.
If I may jump in, when you asked the question, I paused somewhat, and I think there's I'll answer it, but after that, I would like to make the relationship between conservation and solar or RE production of electricity. How we and how it's also what we recommend is that if you desirous of installing a PV system, or it could be a wind turbine, micro wind turbine at your premises, you should have an installer assess what is, I'll recommend the equipment necessary, and you should approach Vinlec then, telling us telling us your plans, what you hope to install, and the specifications of it, designs, and so on, manufacturer, and the tests. What tests? Well, it should meet certain standards, international standards. Proof that it meets the required international standards.
Documentation.
We would look at it, make sure that it's technically it can work on our system. We look at our system and where you want to put it, and ensure or assess if it will need any upgrade of any equipment on our network to facilitate that generator, RE generator. We also will have to look at, and if it gets bigger, we would have to do studies to see the impact of a bigger generator. PV or wind generator on this system. We will respond to you and guide you accordingly. Go ahead. This project has passed, and if we need to do any upgrade, we'll tell you what it costs to do it. Then and only then, when you have the right of way from Vinlec, we advise that you purchase your equipment.
Okay.
Because you can go out there and purchase. You might contact a DIY.
Yes.
And they say, oh, this can work, and you go and purchase, spend lots of money, and then it is not compatible with our international standards that we use that guide the safety of the system and how that system operates on the network. When you finish purchasing and installing, then you approach the electrical inspectorate, and they will do their due diligence to ensure that it is safe, and give you a certificate, which you bring to Vinlec, and Vinlec will then go and do a test to verify that the some of those standards, grid connection standards, are met, are complied with as per the certificates of the equipment. So once we satisfy, then we'll communicate to you. It is okay for you to connect that system, that RE system, to the network. And one thing we would like that is done so that there's safety. Our lines, when going out online, can operate safely or maintain our network safely. That the customers or other customers around, that nothing is fed back on those customers that can cause damage and such. But I said I would like to go to conservation and renewable energy, solar generation. It is often thought that conservation, that if I get a solar PV plant generator, then it helps me to conserve, or which is not necessarily the truth. It might help you to lower your consumption. Well,
what we would pay to you, right?
But in terms of, it is recommended before you actually go to the PV provider to do an audit of your consumption home in your home.
Right.
There's a lot of wastage. If you're not conscious or make a deliberate attempt to manage the use of any resource, a matter of fact, whether money, electricity, water, if you don't make a conscious effort, a deliberate effort to manage it, then you would pay. So if you purchase a PV system and you haven't mastered the management of what you have, then you'll actually might buy a bigger PV system than you really need, and that is much more money than you need to spend, much more investment. So there are guidelines that you would give, tips that you would give over the years of how to conserve and things that you should do. But you don't want to carry your bad practices into a new and a more expensive house. It makes it even worse for you.
All right, Dianna, yeah.
Oh, I had a question earlier to ask. How does Vinlec calculate the usage, the amount of electricity that households use? Because I ask this because many times you'd hear a person say, "Oh, my bill is $500 and all I did for the month was iron 3 shorts. What's going on?" So that's my question. I'll let you answer that first, and then I will ask the other one.
How we know how much you burn? We have meter readers that will visit every customer's premises monthly and record readings from your meter. Your meter would measure how much electricity you consume, and from that, and we charge you accordingly from what is recorded. On the rare occasion, you might have let us say a bad dog or something that we can't get through that meter. We might, based on historical information, we have to bill you because you don't want you to pay 2 months. So based on historical consumption, we can estimate, but we can call you and find out, or sometimes even we have known to call some key customers and ask them to assist us with the reading, which we verify periodically. Sometimes depends on how long the month is and where the cycle falls, whether it's on a weekend, a public holiday. There might be, and the length of the month. A month might be 30 days, it might be 31 days, and even around burial, the restoration, because of the upheaval, it really extended for high 30s days. So if you've been billed for more days, then it would reflect a bit more. But if you bill for more days for this month, next month,
Maybe should be shorter.
it would be shorter. And of course, the cost of fuel, fluctuation in the cost of fuel, also varies with that also.
All right. So stemming from what you've said in response to Dianna's question and before, from your vantage point, from two different units or departments, what is it that causes persons? How do you see people wasting electricity, basically? What is it that contributes to this wastage of electricity?
I will jump in before Mr. Wright. There are a lot of things.
Just list them. Let people check off as you go along.
I will start at the base, right? Before I even get there, I wanted to jump in as Mr. Wright was explaining regarding the photovoltaics. Right.
Okay. So one question. So somebody asked on your WhatsApp, what is they thought you were saying PB all along, but it's PV and it stands
photovoltaic.
And what exactly? Break that down for us, regular folks. What does it mean?
It's the energy from the sun going into these panels, giving you electricity, using an inverter, converting from DC to AC into your home to get electricity. Simple and plugged. The energy from the sun giving you current.
Lovely. Lovely.
Photo is light. Sunlight. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So as I said before, our base voltage is 230 volts. Right. And I'm gonna get a bit technical here. If I get too much, just dial me back.
All right.
One of the biggest problems I see homeowners have is not understanding one thing: using transformers in your home.
Had that down. Mm-hmm.
Right? Because our base voltage is 230 volts, it means that direct current, you should be using appliances that are 230 volts.
Mm-hmm.
If you then go and use appliances from another country, for example, America, which uses the National Electric Code, which their base voltage is 115 volts, 110, what people would speak about. Now, if you go and you buy equipment, appliances from those places, you would now have to break that current down.
Right.
Then you'd have to use a step-down transformer.
Mm-hmm. So people who are looking forward to Black Friday sales and Cyber Monday sales, this is for you. Listen up, all right?
This is
well, those international sales, I should say, not so much local, right?
Right. Using a transformer to break down electricity from 230 to 110 is all well and fine. However, the consideration where that transformer itself produces heat, that heat dissipation alone is wasted energy. That alone. So before you even get your current to 110, you already wasted electricity just by turning on that transformer. Because you have to power the transformer. It goes to the different sides of the transformer before it even gets to you. And the longer the transformer stays on, it's even more heat. And I'm sure some persons could go and they don't even have to touch a transformer. Just put your hand right to the side of the transformer. You'll feel the heat that's coming off. That is wasted energy. That's wasted current. That is wastage of money. Point blank. So that's one, right? There's something called phantom voltage or phantom current. I'm sure that when you finish in this studio, you put the computers, some of the computers would be on standby or something of the sort, and you see the monitors turn off and there's an orange light that is on the monitor. That is still using electricity, right? And what that is called is phantom voltage or phantom current. At that point, you are not using it, but it's still using electricity, right? That, in a sense, as well, is another large wastage of energy. These are simple things that people don't know, don't consider, right? One of our problems in St. Vincent is that we're not well knowledgeable of a lot of these things. These things that we deal with every day. So we can't reach to blame Vinlec yet, right? We can't reach to them yet. We have to consider ourselves, right? Because we for one, we want to. One of our problems is that we don't like to look in our own bowl. We like to people not the people bowl. America has this and America has that, and Canada has this and Canada has that. So we want it too, right? Without considering the greater implications. You go and buy that, you have to buy a transformer. And sometimes people have like 10 transformers in the houses. And they balling, oh, you know what? I just ironed 4 short. But you have on your TV with one transformer. You have on your music set with one transformer. You have on the microwave with one transformer.
The high-tech fridges.
The high-tech fridges is one. But that's, you know how much heat dissipation is being used, how much energy is being wasted. But then again, we're ignorant to these things.
All right, so ignorant meaning lack of knowledge, okay, folks?
Yes, that's what I said.
I was waiting to hear you see if you would mention the chargers as well when you were talking about the phantom.
Well, that in a sense, so the chargers, right? The way those operate, unless you're using that, because they don't have anything that would be using, right? In order for the screen to turn on, it has to go through a phase. Chargers is basically one conduit. You get what you ask for. You plug it in and you plug in the phone. That's it. The charger is not going to store up energy at any point, right? The other thing, a lot of people are going into ACs now, and this was what I was going to get into as Mr. Wright was speaking about having an energy audit of your installation. When I say installation, I mean electrical installation in your home. Even with solar, but it goes even further down. We are having some very hot days, some hot nights as well. So persons have been installing ACs, right? What we would call the building envelope, which would be the square
size, right?
Right? Any crack or any open area in that envelope releases energy or releases the AC, the conditioning aspect of that room, which now would make that AC has to work harder because you're releasing the cool air. The conditioning of that room now becomes more difficult. And there you go again. You waste current. Opening fridges, and you know what? I feel like I don't know what I want to eat.
Yeah. You decide when you open the fridge.
And my kids do it on a regular.
Think outside the fridge.
Yeah, I know.
What I want, or the females. What I want to cook today.
Yeah.
I have that. But I feel like
Or hoping things magically appear in the fridge when you open it, right? Yeah.
Speak to me.
These things, when you want to, for example, you go into a room and you know before the night is over, you're going to go into that room 10 more times. But every time you go into that room, click, 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 click. The light is on, the light is off. The light is on, the light. We have to learn to manage these things. So, you know, if you're not ready to go to your bed, leave it on so that nobody has to turn it off and turn it back on. Because every time you turn off, it jumps and on.
Right. Question with regards to the fridge, because I remember years ago, I was at UE and I had the fridge open because I was putting groceries into the fridge and I left the door open. And somebody told me that I'm wasting the electricity. And I said, but don't you use more electricity opening and closing constantly? Because if you put in groceries into the fridge, doesn't it just make sense to leave it open and put the groceries in as opposed to constantly opening and closing?
Well, at that point, it makes more sense.
Okay.
But the problem is when you know what, I'm going for some water, open up, close it. You know what? I want some juice, open up, closing. You know what? I miss the Milky Way that was in it. I feel like eating that, open up and close it. As it relates to groceries, once you have it open, make sure it's open and you finish and you close.
Right.
But the groceries nearby.
And you have the groceries nearby.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's so many things. We would talk about appliances, right? You make sure that when you're purchasing, it goes back to Mr. Wright's statement as it relates to purchasing solar and making sure that it's correct for our usage. You look for standards like UL or CE. UL is on the listed and on the writers list laboratory. There's a universal standards that they test these things for. So once these have on these logos, you know that they're tested and they're safe for usage and consumption in our places. A lot of problems we have these days is that we have that fridge for 25 years and we refuse to change it. It is working good. There's no need for us to change it. You understand me?
I could hear Granny looking at you right now and like.
There is one thing I want to speak on.
But if you explain to Granny, you might spend a bit of money and buy a new fridge, but it'll be more efficient and you pay less electricity.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you might say that you see that old fridge. If I put $1 in between the door, so I could pull out this $1 easily. That means the gasket around the fridge.
Okay.
And right there, you're
possible
doing
for
the
it to
same
leak
thing.
air.
Same thing you're doing.
So with a new fridge, that gasket is tight,
Airtight and closed.
airtight and locks, and helps you to.
So listen for the suction song when you're right. All right.
And don't slam the fridge door. Close it gently because you don't want to be introducing a fresh set of warm air.
I feel like we might be spending 3 hours this morning with this conversation, right? Right. Yes.
There's something I want to introduce to our populace. It's called smart energy surge protectors. Right? Now we all know the purpose of the populace knows the purpose of a surge protector is just to extend how much devices you can use. But in that fact, things are changing. And as things are changing, you have to change with them. So to defeat the old phantom power issue that I spoke about, there's smart surges that are being introduced now. There are many types. For example, there's one that would measure how much power it would take to turn on these monitors. And once it reads and records that is not going through, it shuts off.
Okay.
There's another one that has a built-in what do you call that? A detector, motion detector. So you put that in your living room, right? And you connect all the devices to it. And that would sense when there's no one in the living room. And even though, because we have televisions that will go on standby when you're not using it, that is still phantom power because it's
still on, right?
Right? What this smart surge would do is that once it senses that nobody is in that area, it shuts it off. Shuts off all of the appliances you have on that. So that's one.
Interesting.
And that's something we did in like some years ago too. We did an energy audit, and say for instance our bathrooms, we have
Occupancy sensors.
Yes, occupancy sensors or timers, just a timer switch. Or sometimes somebody will go into the bathroom, turn on the lights, or the lights will be on all the time. So no, as you go in, it senses somebody coming in and senses somebody leaving, turn on and off, or just timer.
Yes.
I'll be here for 2 minutes. These little things.
So this is like something I can find on Amazon?
Yeah, you can find them.
Okay.
You know.
What looking for? What type of it?
It's just called an occupancy sensor.
Right.
I'm sure you've encountered it. You've gone into. I'm sure they're in St. Vincent. I think not too sure short Subway and them have them. I think so. You've gone into a bathroom, and from the time you go in, I think it's at the airport. You would go into the bathroom. When you get into the bathroom, the light just come on, and when you leave, the light just go off. So you have to turn on or turn it off. It senses you. That was called occupancy sensor. So it senses an occupant around the area, and it gives the occupant light. When you're gone, it's off. I mean, people might say, it's high tech to put in their houses, but these are ways you can conserve electricity. All right,
Or businesses, especially
Right.
commercial areas.
Okay.
So one of the things that we have to consider, and it's very, very important, right? Because one of the things that our office also does is that persons would come and cry, my bill was $200 3 months ago, and this month it come $800, and I do nothing different.
And you go with Vinlek and stand up and start to complain.
Well, they go to Vinlek. Vinlek says, well, based on our record,
Okay.
this is what we see.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing we can do.
We test the meter, it's working good.
Right.
Okay.
So at that point now, they come, Vinlek send us to you. Right? Okay, they explain there's the situation. We say, well, okay, there is a piece of equipment that our office has. It's called an energy monitor. What that would do is that would install it on your installation, on your main panel, and that would monitor the usage for however long you decide you want it on it. And then we could now take it off and do an analyzing of the data and give you a total understanding of what you've been doing. Added to that, you yourselves as homeowners, as business owners, you can also buy these things and install them for your homes. There are energy monitors on the internet that you can buy, you can install, and you can control from your phone. So, for example, you as the parent leaves home and you forgot the iron on, right? And you look at the app that it has, and you see that that specific circuit has a very high usage. The monitor is capable of allowing you to turn off that from where you are. So it also helps you to manage usage, helps you to manage power, right? So as I was saying, energy auditing is very, very important, right? I'm advising persons before you even look to upgrade certain things, because as Mr. Wright was speaking about the solar, I was looking at you, but I said, no, I'm not jumping just yet. It's very important that persons understand that how you're charged by Vinlink is by your usage. It's by your practices. So it's even better that if you bundle certain things together. Say, for example, you want to wash on Saturday. Maybe it's better you wash on Sunday. You got up early in the morning, you wash on Sunday. They get dried by, let's say, 1 o'clock. And in the evening, you iron everything. So you know that whole day, everything is used on one day instead of waking up every morning and iron a piece.
Fellas.
And putting one shirt, one dress in the washing machine overnight.
Or even with families, because I notice sometimes there's a thing of different children. Okay, so you have a household with multiple children and all of them doing their individual laundry as opposed to doing it together as a family.
That those things.
And generally there's a lot of savings that can be made when the family acts together.
Yes,
making meals together. Breakfast, heating the kettle.
All of these things matter.
Yes.
Some of the things that utilize a lot of electric energy is anything that deals with heating, heating elements, whether it's a water heater, iron, electric stove, and also air conditioning units. So air conditioned cooling, fridge and air conditioned. About 80% of your consumption would be in those areas. So it's always good to pay attention to those areas, and you'll be well on the way. It might be just some things that can for industry, commercial and industry. Those the higher the current is generally that you pull, it's the more losses, more inefficiencies there are. So for customers, you let's say for industrial customers with three-phase appliances and equipment installation, it's advisable for you to balance your loads, balance the loads across the three phases. When they are imbalanced, you have high currents on one phase, and the higher the current, the losses are square of the current. Yeah, it's much more. So a lot of times we would do an installation and add equipment after, add circuits after, without electrical inspectorate inspection of them.
That's an issue.
And all you might say, okay, I get away from going through that paperwork and having the rest of my buildings inspected and that upfront cost. But sometimes it can save you that higher bill. For instance, if these circuits weren't designed to take this amount of current, this equipment, and you put more on it, and you have those size wires that were designed for a smaller equipment carrying that big load, and those wires will heat up.
Overheat,
And
yeah.
heat is lost.
Yes, always remember that.
You have
I just thinking about fire could happen.
Well,
that's what I'm thinking of.
those are
Right.
possibilities as
safety
well.
Right.
and in your ballpark again, the inspections, periodic inspection of your installation, maintenance, tightening connections, maybe changing contacts or surfacing contacts, switches. These little things add up. So it's advantageous to have your house inspected maybe by law. It's regulated by law. You should be, but these things also help you to save electricity or utilize less electricity. So
That's
I had
correct.
balancing loads. I had lessening the starting currents. Sometimes when you put on a big motor, it draws. You could see sometimes a light dims when a big equipment is started. And there are ways you can actually limit that starting current and actually utilize less electricity. I said proper sizing of wires and conductors, scheduled maintenance, operating equipment in the most efficient zone. Sometimes and it goes to everything, like a washing machine too. You don't put a small load and have this amount of bundle. A bit on the whole. If you're a big company too, and you're utilizing a lot of motors, there's some VAR, what they call VAR compensators that helps to in short, lessen the current and make you burn less electricity. Back to the home, as simple as a water heater, a kettle. Everybody will come out and make their own tea, and you fill the kettle right up, or you heat the kettle so many times it cool down.
Or you're thinking that every time you have to heat it because it's not hot enough.
But an old lady told me once that she learned from another old lady that it wasn't an electric kettle then. It was as simple as they had to catch fire and mornings too. And this woman had a flask.
Right.
So when she heat the
That one temperature, that's it.
she put it in a flask.
Right.
Heat up the flask, throw that bit of water, and put it in a flask, and you have. But we are modern day. We don't flask. What you speaking about?
Yeah.
Yes. So there's some little practices that can. There's a little story I'd like to tell you after a bit. Just now.
You're right. So to listeners, we have gone over just a little bit. We are going to wrap up maybe in 10 minutes time. Right. So our apologies for those who are listening out for the ECCB bank rates and to nostalgia. We'll bring those around 9:30. All right. We'll bring those around. So we'll wrap up shortly. But it's an informative conversation. It's useful information. So our apologies for those who are listening out for those two particular segments at that time. before you give this story though, I have a curious question.
Before you even get this story.
All right.
Story for the roundup.
Right. I'll want to address certain things that
Mhm.
he spoke of, especially as it relates to my department.
Okay.
After you
Ask the question. All right. So that will be my final question, I think. I hope, I believe. Many homes these days that are being built, constructed, brand new, they are wired with the, so forgive me, the 220 and the 110, right? Is it a case where it has to be done or it needs to be done, or can persons just buy a transformer for particular equipment or appliance that they're going to be using, as opposed to having to buy the big transformer and having it on when you have to, right, just having it on? What is the best advice there for homeowners?
Okay. So I see Mr. Ray looked at me. Let's start here. Because our nominal voltage is 220, 230, however we want to put it, but 240 in the laws. Persons think that they have to wire 220, 110. You don't have to. Let's consider this. We've been talking about some things that may be initially expensive, but have long-term benefits. Why not get your appliances straight from England? You will need to buy a transformer for anything. Everything will be direct current. Yes, you might have to pay a little bit more, but would you prefer that or pay Vinlek more?
Mr. Wright, what do you say?
We all for conservation.
All right.
And we in Vinlek, we practice.
Okay.
I think.
All right. There's another thing as well, too, because there's a universal voltage where you can actually buy the appliances between the 110 and the 240, where they have it there. So sometimes persons also, before you buy a particular appliance or a product, make sure that there is that universal voltage as well.
Just a converter that's within the appliance.
Right.
Either or. Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes it's if you buy a big, usually one large transformer, it's convenient. Yes, you just plug in at the point of use. But there's a greater chance of with losses. Because if you use smaller transformers at the where you want to use it, you can easily turn off that particular transformer. But if you're using just to charge maybe a phone from 110, you have this big transformer on all the time,
Constantly.
So there's a bit of convenience, maybe aesthetics and decor versus the level of consumption.
Conservation.
Okay.
So let me get back.
Right. I don't know.
But I think she's finished answering the questions. Let's consider this. So again, let me just reiterate the purpose of my department. My unit's purpose is to conform that the populace conforms to the safety standards that are set out by the British standards and our local standards. Our purposes. So basically, we are regulators, right? We have been trying to get persons to understand that the laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines says that if you take an outlet and put it onto your home, you're supposed to have an inspection because you have just altered that installation. And you do not know if you have a DIY electrician. Because that electrician or whoever it is, again, I'm not beating anybody, but it's safety we're dealing with. You do not know if the integrity of that new piece of wiring matches or even is higher or even worse than what you have there. So you should, by law, get an inspection to confirm that everything is fine and safe. Mr. Wright alluded to it just now, that different persons would add this and different persons would add that. You would come to the inspectorate and you say, okay, you know what? I have 3 circuits. This is what I'm going to use. And when the inspection is done and You go home, you know what? I want 3 more TVs, you know. So now you have to add a couple more outlets. You have to add more sockets to that. But you haven't come to the inspector to get an inspection to confirm that it's safe.
Something when you add in the other extension cord
right.
plug multiple equipment in one, and all of that is actually, apart from the safety issue, it's you heating up that connection point, and heat is lost.
All of that. Mr. Wright spoke about the cable size, and these are all things that the inspectors take into consideration. So the inspectors are very, very, very in depth. So they would come, take down your panels, ensure what Mr. Wright spoke about, your cable sizes matches your breaker sizes. You don't have any jumps, you don't have any incorrect things in your home. The outlets conform to the standards. Maybe people are running from that, but I'm imploring people. It is for your safety. For your homes, it's very difficult for you to go and spend $400,000, $500,000 to build a property, and then go and add one outlet that may be defective, and poof, that goes up in smoke.
Literally.
Underinsured.
And then we go to the business places, right? Yes, some business places have maintenance teams, and they would say, you know what, we're expanding, we have more persons coming in, so we need another area for these people. So bring in the maintenance team, add outlets there. They haven't gotten inspected. Yes. You have just added extra load on those cables that were designed for what it was before. You have not upgraded. You just added on to that circuit.
I'd like to jump in. I think conversation about conservation isn't complete without mentioning our building practices and designs of our homes, and how we cater for air, say cooling, for instance. Since for decades now, we build with close board and ceiling, and the designs of a home should really consider energy, maximize the use of energy, whether lighting or reduce the need for cooling.
Correct.
So construction materials and the whole design of the homes,
orientation of the house,
yes,
etc.
Could really assist a lot. I just like to mention that. I don't know about the club.
Yeah.
So my story is well, I would say Vinlec, people normally ask the question, why are you concerned about energy conservation? The more you sell, not better for you. No, we see it as part of our duty to encourage our customers to utilize electricity wisely. The more our customers have to, the more wastage is, the faster we have to look for the new generation to supply that wastage.
Okay.
And that initial cost, it could be costs of land, costs of transmission, distribution, upgrade of our equipment. The longer we can delay that investment is best for us. A part of it being enshrined in our mission statement, we to look after the best interests of our customers and support the development. We in-house, we actually practice. We do energy audits and practice conservation. We monitor on monthly the percentage use, or we call it own use. How much of that electricity we produce is used in-house. We also monitor on a monthly basis the losses, how much electricity is lost on the lines outside.
True distribution.
And my story is, I was told by a dear relative of mine. She had a visitor, and we were walking through Kingston one day, and she made a comment. She said, "I see a lot of coins on the street in Kingston." She said, "Why is that so?" The next day she visited town with the visitor. The visitor started picking up the coins. Um, 5 cents, pennies, start picking it up. At the end of the day, they went to Graves and she asked my relative for 25 cents, I think she said. She handed her 25 cents and she took the coins she had collected, put the 25 cents with it, and she bought a sandwich loaf and she gave it to my relative. The big lessons, sometimes you have to take care of the
One thing.
one Jamaican or Caribbean say one cocoa basket, one cocoa empty basket. So take care of the little pennies, learn to manage it, and you're better even able to manage more. Practice energy conservation.
All right. That was a lot of information this morning. But it was information that I was very happy to hear, and I'm sure that our listeners were also happy to hear it, right? I will say this one thing. Maybe don't wait for us to call y'all next time. Maybe come in, and because I know that there's a lot of information that you can disseminate, simple tips that persons might be taking for granted. So, having this information repeated could help with the reinforcement of it, as well as the practices of certain things. All right. So whenever y'all ready, you know how to reach us. You could feel free to come on in. All right.
Yes. And
So,
just to say, we have the technology now. So just a suggestion, you can use your platform, maybe share some tips every now and again, a little short video, on certain things that you think we should know, we ought to know.
And people who don't know anything about the inspectorate, we have a Facebook page.
yes.
So you could.
I just ask questions. I think that is the problem. Like, people just don't ask questions. They jump, they assume.
That's true.
They start to fuss.
That's true.
And they vent to whoever it is that they think that they should be venting to, but they don't ask questions
Very
first.
true. And
right?
if you want to get on to the inspector to ask questions, you can call at 456-2563. That is our landline. Call that anytime. Ask any questions. Once an inspector is there, you'll sure to be directed correctly.
All right, and Vinlek?
Everybody
Number?
knows Vinlek's number.
No, sit still. Somebody out there might be needed to call this morning.
4561701. And in case of an emergency, 4561540.
All right, and when all else fails, use Google. Okay? Use Google.
Exactly.
All right, so Mr. Lonzel Jones of the Electrical Inspectorate Office, our unit, and Mr. Ricky Wright of Vinlek, thank you very much once again for being here with us this morning and for all the information that we shared, and something that I wrote down could be added to somebody's Christmas list this year.
Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right, and at this time, we are behind on